Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I am so excited today. Look who I've got with me, actor Peter Macon with me. So, hello, Peter.
Howdy. So tell me about the Too Opinionated. Like, what's the genesis of that? Like, what's that about?
So it's kind of, I think it's kind of interesting. So we started. I say we. My son and I started the podcast. He came to me with the idea. He's like, Dad, I want to do a podcast. I was like, great, let's do it. So his thinking was different generations, we would have all of these different views on whatever subject we were talking about. But then it turned out all our views were the same. Yeah. You know, we weren't really very opinionated. I guess we had opinions, but they weren't different. You know, we didn't have to argue about them. And he decided... Yeah, he decided he would rather do the behind the camera stuff. He likes to edit and do that stuff. Yeah. And so that left me on camera. So Too Opinionated, I don't know that necessarily fits how the show goes, but we've just stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
So feel free to be opinionated.
Well, opinions, everyone poops, right? So, you know what I mean? That's what I tell my son. I was like, he's just learning about them. Well, it's just my opinion. No, it's just your opinion. I'm like, hey, man, everyone poops.
Don't you miss the days when everybody just kept their opinions to themselves?
No, that's so boring. so boring. How do you know what your opinions are if you don't buck up against other people's opinions? Because they're like I don't know.
No, that's a decent point. Like, I grew up in a family that they enjoyed arguing, but nobody got mad. They just enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I love getting into it. Let me see. I love spirited debate, but these days I'm a bit heated about certain things. So I kind of know who I can debate with and who I'm going to argue with. So I tend to avoid arguing because it's, Jean Genet, the French playwright, said that the greatest tragedy in life is that every man has his reasons, right? So, I'm down for debate if it's going to go somewhere, you know what I mean? But I really hate arguing.
Arguing's pointless.
Yeah, it really is, because once you if you can't remove emotions from, right, it's very difficult to hear what another person is saying. So I like to debate. I like to dissect. I like to fact find. I like to deep dive. And have spirited debate, especially when it comes to politics. Because, that's what's making the world go round.
We don't do that anymore. There's no spirited debate. It's just you're wrong, I'm right.
There we are. We're just left in a loop. So I just really don't have time. I don't have time for anything that's not constructive. I mean, I literally don't have from the time I get up in the morning, especially now in the summer. Like, I don't know how your old son, our boys are 4 and 6. So.
Oh yeah, you're busy.
Man, I mean, I literally put one on the toilet just right now, because he's like, he walks in and it's like, I gotta go. I'm like, of course you have to go right now. Right.
Of course.
Yeah, that's how it works. So, hey,
See, I've moved on to the grandparent phase. So I'm going through some of the potty training type of stuff, but it's with the grandkids. My kids, they're grown.
Yeah. So you're coming back for more. I guess that's
right. Well, I will say I loved being a dad, but I'm a pawpaw. Being a pawpaw, so much better.
Yeah.
So much better, because you get all the good and then you just send them home.
Yeah, bye.
You sugar them up and spoil them and send them home.
Yeah. Those. I remember those days of being Uncle Peter, and that's not the case, because it's like, hey, it's what it is, and I love it. but it, pray for me.
I know. They're old enough now. Do you get them in like a T-ball or anything like that?
No, because we had them in we have them swim lessons.
Oh yeah.
We had them in soccer and karate, but it's all like sort of seasonal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So right now it's just like because they're out for the summer, so that they're just doing swim lessons and we go to the pool and.
That's good though.
The 6-year-old never wants to leave, some sort of device. I got to make him, lock him out of the house for an hour. But it's so hot here, I feel bad. So I'm like, okay, well, we can stay inside or we can go someplace, But they're almost old enough where I can start taking them to movies. Like, and they're like, we've taken them to movies, and the little one, he doesn't like loud noises, so he's like, it's too loud. I hate this. The whole experience. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's the best part about it. But. Once he fixes his mind to something, that's just it. So they're almost there. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're just building stuff, and I'm a big old kid myself, so
Me too.
Almost old enough for like the radio controlled helicopters and
Oh yeah,
trains and like the radio controlled cars and go-karts and all that stuff. So yeah, they love it. And amusement parks. Ooh, like we're like roller coaster fiends.
They're at the right age now.
Yeah. And studying languages and like geography and like
Yeah.
They watch my show and they're like, "Hey, it's Daddy." Okay, he's not there anymore. Bye. That's cool.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do they watch, especially with the makeup and stuff? What do they think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like my 6-year-old, he's we started the Orville when he was, I think, just a year and a half old.
Yeah.
And so so he'd come to set and I'd be in full makeup and we'd hang out, I'd FaceTime, so they're totally used to it. And then I've taken them to set and toured like the ship and stuff like that. So they they love it, and they see billboards or posters or commercials and like, hey, it's Daddy. Hey, but they're not trying to watch the show. You know what I mean?
No.
So I watch it in the middle of the night when I can watch it uninterrupted, and it's a fun little treat. But yeah, they know it's me, and they're like, spaceships, and it's really kind of cool, their association with science fiction. You know what I mean? Because I fit into that zeitgeist of, because I watch a lot of science fiction, and they love it, and it's fun.
Were you a Trek fan growing up?
Honestly, no. I hated Star Trek, and I'll tell you why. Because it was my dad's favorite show, and we had one TV, like most people did. And when it came on, like it was like you either had to be outside or you had to be quiet. And and I just associated Star Trek with this punishment time. And eventually later on I got into it, of course, but like growing up, I was not a Star Trek fan. I was more Battlestar Galactica and like anime, stuff like that. So but now I have an appreciation for it, just for what it was doing, genre bending, and just almost satirical sometimes, a lot like our show.
But yeah, a lot of people say the Orville is as close to original Trek as we've got.
Yeah, there's like a simple quality to it. Simple, like meaning just the design. You know what I mean? Like the uniforms are, nothing's dirty. You know what I mean? Everything is very clean, and like the I keep saying holodeck, and I know that's absolutely wrong, but the synthesizers and like trying to say, anyway, there's like a lot of those similarities, and then I think politically, and like the show walks this line of dramedy, right? It's a duality to the show, that I think the original Star Trek was doing at the time, so, first interracial kiss with Nichelle Nichols and, Captain Kirk, and, like just, moral, like this is sort of moral pendulum analysis, you know what I mean, of, where do we sit on issues of coexistence from a moral standpoint.
Yeah.
Um,
You definitely get into some, some themes, and more of it's not just a comedy. There's some definite tough subjects that you get into.
oh man, just watching this last episode, and watching what Scott Grimes, put down, just, I was like, oh, and I texted him right away, and I was like, man, it was really heartbreaking. I was like, oh God, you never see Gordon like that, right? It was really, really hard. And so I love that the show wants to do that, because, you could get away with, 30 minutes of yucks and laughs and stuff like that, but for an hour and change, there has to be a little bit more gravitas.
Well, you would hope.
Yeah,
yeah, it's been so good, and we had BJ on.
Okay.
And I was amazed talking with him in person, because he's so big.
Yeah, he's like 9 feet tall now.
I know, he was just a little guy when you guys started.
Yeah, that's only 4 or 5 years ago, and I just saw him in LA the premiere, and he's like a good 3 inches taller than I am, and he's 18. He's still growing. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, wow, his voice is all deep, and it's like, hello, Mr. Peter, how you doing? He's a super respectful kid, and like I just love him. And
he was like he was old school respectful on the interviews.
His dad, BJ Senior, is like, and he's got like a couple older brothers, but super, yes sir. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's just a wonderful, sweet, great family, but and and he's got his head on his shoulders, like he's, it's like, he's gonna go far. It's just so crazy to watch them grow up like that, like my TV kids, but yeah, like he's a sweetheart, and his dad and his mom are amazing. His family's great. They just when they moved to Texas, right when we finished, right before we even finished. So, but yeah, they're good folks. They're good folks.
Yeah, you could tell. He definitely been raised right. He was a very nice young man.
Yeah, and I'm just so excited for all the stuff that he gets to do as sort of like he's not a little kid anymore, right?
Right.
He's not just like a little.
Well, we were kind of joking about that. It was like first couple episodes, I was like, you had a rough couple of episodes. He's like making mistakes, and he had some problems in there.
Yeah, hanging out with the wrong crowd, and just single mom, issues, like no real father figure in there, and just kind of growing up, trying like, am I the man of the house, or am I like, am I like rebelling, so. Great, and then, kudos to Seth and the team, like for great writing. It's like I think a lot of times young people don't get really great writing because we just kind of dumb it down, and the reality of what they're going through is bleak in a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's good.
And your story this season. Yes. Are you and your guy gonna get back together? It's been pretty rough.
It's rough. It's rough, and like I think it wouldn't be good TV if we weren't guessing, So, and just speaking of the youth again, like Imani, like she is amazing. She's really grown into that role, and those are hard shoes to fill.
Sure.
Topa's been now what two different people, like well, there was a baby, and then there was Blessing, and then now Imani, and it's I love working with those guys. Because it's like Chad Coleman, he's like America's like favorite couple. Like these like egg laying, big head alien people, and yeah, I mean, our storyline has been, great in that it oftentimes has been like the sort of bottom note, like the thing that's balancing the comedy out, like the same,
Yeah.
and like, we're also, like English and being around human beings is not our first experience, our first language. So they're we're kind of innocent in a ways, like
Yeah.
getting addicted to cigarettes and porn, and you know what I mean, like just growing a mustache. I mean, it's just like something very like childlike about them. They're just so stoic, and it's just funny. So the fact that we have, like, on top of all of that, like layered in like this heavy duty dramatic business, like these circumstances of, and it's just something that rips a family apart. And, in the midst of all that, like, this is still the same show, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, that's
it's,
why I said some of the themes are I mean, they're tough.
yeah,
You feel for the characters.
yeah, yeah. I think people appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah,
I certainly do. And there's just more substance to
definitely.
not just light fare. And I think that's the draw. That's the line that we walk. Um, so
I'm amazed at the work that Chad Coleman does. I'm a big fan of his, and I
yeah,
didn't realize that was him when the show first came out.
yeah,
I was surprised because it's a
yeah,
different role than he normally plays, and he's so
yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean, I was watching The Expanse.
Love The Expanse.
I was late to the game on that show. I started watching it, and then I got busy, and then it fell off, and then but then when I got back into it, I was hooked, and
Yeah.
just watching his whole character arc, and like I'm like, that's my husband, like, but yeah, like, or like I'm a fan of his from The Wire,
Yeah.
like, and just to see, and he's so transformative in this, because like, kudos to KMB effects, like the makeup really I really lose myself, and we talk about that, and just like the comedic sort of gesture that comes along with not being able to turn your neck more than that way, and just being caught surprised. I mean, there's a lot of clown elements involved in
Yeah.
working with the makeup, but yeah, and he's like, and I had a talk with someone the other day, and I was like, as much as we love to hate Clyden, like, oh, it's easy for us to hate him, like, but I'm like, he's just being true to the species, right?
Right.
And like the stickier debate is like, so the Planetary Union, it seems to be sort of human centrist in terms of
Right.
what's right and what's wrong, or what's what's natural, what's not. And I know the intentions are to unite and coexist, but like, we can't get mad. Well, we can't get too mad and dismiss Clyden for his rejection of decisions that are made that are not Mocklin. You know what I mean? Because
Well, that's right. That's why I think he's a very sympathetic character on the show, because he's kind of stuck. I mean, that's the environment that he grew up with. It kind of makes up everything that he is, and he's battling himself. You can see it.
Yeah. There's gonna be some good. Just you wait. So like it's not. It will be a fully developed story-line, and as it is now, because like, you're like, well, what's going to happen? But we have four more to air, so yeah, it's going to be crazy. And then then we'll see what happens.
Do you sing? Was that actually you singing?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
it was pretty good.
It was all right. Like, that was it was hard to find the right lane to be in with, because everyone wanted to know, can he sing, can he not sing? And I'm like, well, no, like, if he can't sing, or like the Mocklin opera would be vastly different than like, you know, like a Pavarotti. So that, you know, that I don't know if that's going to be that enjoyable. And so, but if he's like a virtuoso, like that would be maybe a little bit too on the nose. So I tried to stay in this lane with the approach and the performance of it, where he was like, he'd studied in the simulator, you know what I mean? Like on his off hours, and, you know, this but stilted, but so not great, you know, not terrible, but like,
no, it was good.
That lane of, you know, and it wasn't, you know, like those two songs, surprisingly enough, Nature Boy is a and I studied like the Nat King Cole like rendition of that song, and he's doing a lot of crooning, and I can do that stuff, but I didn't think that Bordas, it made sense for him to be able to like, you know,
Right.
you know, like just to be, but just to sort of like flat, you know, not but basic, right?
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, to make that right, or to try to make that choice about it, and not just, you know, it required a lot of thought, and it required like a lot of rehearsal, you know, like I always love actors that play parts that, like you see, you do, like you have shows where an actor plays a bad actor, right? That's really hard to do well, you know what I mean? It's really hard to, you know, play dumb like really well. I mean, it's not easy, and to be an okay singer. Oh, my wife's home. Fantastic. Like,
Back up.
I know. I was like praying that everything's okay over there. But to be like a mediocre singer, when I'm a pretty decent singer. I'm not great, but like I'm, you know, I'm okay. And but to like sort of ratchet it down a little bit to make it make sense for the character. So yeah, that was me. And a lot of it got cut, which I was just like, God damn it. Like, you know,
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. But you know, there's only so much time per episode now, but it is what it is. And it was great. It was great to have all of that going on in that one episode. You know, the range of emotions and to be able
It was a busy episode.
It was full. Like these episodes are very full, which is great. You know, like since we've
they're long. You know, I mean, you know, it goes past the hour, which is really nice. It's like bonus.
Yeah, it's like they're like we made like 10, you know, short movies. You know.
Yeah, you really did.
Yeah, production wise. So
how long does it take you to get all that makeup and costume and all that on?
Initially, it was like for the first, you know, sort of few months, it was, you know, 3-4 hours, and then we got it down to like an hour and a half. You know, like, and I would literally come in because I'm in before, you know, everyone, and I'm like the first in, last out, and like the Marines and makeup Marines, and I would, you know, I'd just go to sleep. You know, I'd just fall asleep, and that's what happens to you when you fall asleep in a makeup chair, because something's bound to happen. It's like worse than a frat party, like where you get your eyebrows shaved or something. But it's like, but yeah, like it was very, you know, comfortable. Like, you know, because we eventually like knew, yeah, what, you know. I know, buddy. Hey, will you shut the door for me? Thank you, buddy. Where, you know, like to learn how to put the makeup on, like I had to learn how to help the makeup artist.
Right.
I mean? Like I need to, you know, be aware of what they're working on. So like if I had a call or I'm trying to, you know, go through some lines or something, you know, or literally even flare my nostrils at the right point in time so that the glue would stick down, you know, because if it didn't set right here, and because it took like, you know, 35-40 seconds for it to set, and if I'm talking or if I don't flare my nostrils to meet the prosthetic so they can glue together, what happens is all day, like as I start to get hot, because it's really hot in the makeup, that would unglue. And so all day you have someone coming and doing this to you all, you know what I mean? To keep, so I had to learn how to help them apply it. So it was a learning curve for me too. And once we got into like a zone, it was very zen. And I just like, I you know, because oftentimes I'm in at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and as soon as a certain part of it was done, you know, I'm like,
I don't know how you sleep through that. I couldn't do that.
Oh, you listen, you do it for 5 years, you do the same thing, anything, I think for 5 years, you can find a way to sleep.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna find I could fall asleep and, you know, on a, you know, escalator. Like if I had to, just because, you know, it's just so like,
yeah, you zone out, I guess.
Yeah. And like, and you get it. Like, you know, I loved coming to work because it was like there's this chaos at my house, and I come to work and I only have to do this one thing. And, you know, but you know, I just got really comfortable with it. And it was always fun to have that, you know, because I forget that I have it on, you know what I mean? And I walk around the lot, you know, just on lunch break or something, and I'm like, why are people saying, oh, that's right. Or like they see me like FaceTiming someone, just doing some pedestrian thing, and people are less like, oh wow, okay, like that's not something you see every day. But it was great fun, you know. And then when we had to do full body, like when we're naked, that's a whole nother animal, because it's like that's all the makeup that's on your my face and neck, and then there's a whole body suit, and then there's a whole like leg, you know, torso suit and leg suit. And they glue that all together. So that takes like 4 or 5 hours.
I was gonna say, what do you show up at like 1:30 in the morning to get ready for the next day?
Yeah, basically I just sleep in my trailer, and I'll be here when you're ready tomorrow. No, they would schedule everything, that, you know, good on them. They would schedule all of that kind of photography later in the day when it's cool, you know. But sometimes, you know, like there was, I don't know if you saw this outtake that we did that got cut, where the boys are at a golf course, and Clyde and Bortis roll up in a golf cart, and they're decked out in this whole golf gear, and like, and it was, we had to shoot that really early in the morning because it was summertime.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we had to, you know, before it got hot, and even like by 10 o'clock, I was like,
you had to be dying.
Ready to pass out, you know. But we had like these cooling suits, like these cooling vests that they use like for like NASCAR drivers use them.
Yeah.
Like ice, they just like pump ice water through these tubes, you know, and it just cools you off like in 5 seconds. You're just like, you know, like, so. But it was still get hot, you know, like I don't miss that at all.
No. Yeah, that could, oh man, that could be miserable.
Yeah, it was something, I wouldn't say it's the funnest thing in the world to do, but you know, it was fun.
It's one of those things that's nice to say that you've done it, but you don't really want to do it again.
Right. You know, when I was, you know, telling my grandkids, you know, like, well, what I had to do for money.
So I've been a fan of yours forever. Like I remember you back from like Nash Bridges.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
And the one I really liked you on though was you did a couple episodes of The Shield.
Yeah.
And I liked you on that one really well.
Yeah,
but you've been doing this a while.
Yeah. I mean, I have. Well, I mean, the Nash Bridges, I think that was like 1996. That was like my first. I think that was my first gig on TV. I had done like I did an independent film before that.
Yep.
And then and that was like but I grew up on the stage, like doing theater. Like since I was like 17 years old. So but when I was in San Francisco, and you know, I actually lived right down the street from one of the locations that we were shooting in San Francisco. It's so cool to just like walk to set.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know, and Don Johnson was in Cheech Marin. They were so fun. And like to do, I think I did two episodes, like 2 different characters. I'm like, aren't they gonna remember me that I was this other character? Like, don't worry about it. I mean, like,
They used to do that a lot more on TV shows.
Man, yeah, not so much. I mean, you go back and you see, like, I mean, everybody's done their Law and Orders and their,
Oh yeah,
yeah, and the Shield. I never even saw those episodes.
really?
Oh, I never saw them. And I just remember my mother making fun of me for this hat that I was wearing because I was playing some like some drug dealer guy or whatever. I don't know, some car, you know what I mean? Like, and I was in school too, so I no time. Probably didn't even have a TV, So like, but yeah, and that was just forever ago. But I still get like, well, I take that back. I was gonna say I still get residual checks from Nash Bridges, but the last one I got was $0.00. I'm like, why would you send this?
Yeah, why would you send that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is for your record keeping, I guess. I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna make a difference in like my tax structure, but and I've gotten a few of those where, like, this costs more to print than it on the check. But
that seems pointless.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten residual checks for 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents. I'm just like, you guys could just donate.
Do you cash them? Do you pile them up and cash them at some point?
It depends. I lose them more than I do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, or they come in and they're scribbled all over. My children have gotten into it, but I've got like a much better secure filing system. But yeah, like sometimes I literally, like, in my last house I had in my office, I would just like tape them up on the wall. You know what I mean? Just tape these, 0 cents and $0 or 3 cents residual. So I'm like, if it ever gets bad, I have 180 days. To like,
That's right. Well, I mean, those shows, even the older ones, they pop up every once in a while.
They do. Which is, weird. I'm like, who's watching this? Like some of my friends will text me, like, oh, I just saw you on, what? Why are you watching? What are you doing? Who watches Law and Order anymore? Oh, you know who does? My 80-year-old mother. Like,
oh yeah.
So, but it's, I think it's just funny. Yeah.
Well, I loved you on Shameless. You're Dominique's dad. That was awesome. You were on there for a while.
Yeah, I did like 2 seasons, and yeah, that was fun because I'm from Chicago.
Yes.
Not too far from where a bunch of stuff was shot. You know what I mean? So I was like, this is really surreal. Like, I'm like driving a mocked up police car, like during the car chase. They let me drive it, and I was like, hell yeah! And I was just gunning it during burnouts and skids and stuff like that in my old stomping grounds. I'm like, this is really, and I'm in a cop car. This is really surreal because it was definitely the other way around when I was growing up in Chicago. But yeah, then there was a good group of people, and again, like Bill Macy and like all these, these like very, like a Midwest, sort of theater orientated,
yeah,
like theater oriented artists, like practitioners, so, and like, I mean, Bill Macy was funny because he'd walk around, I don't know what he was doing. I mean, maybe it was a project or maybe it was just a hobby, but he would carry around a violin case, and he'd always be in his trailer practicing violin. So, like I dig, that it was, and it was just fun. Like a lot of the directors were, theater directors or directors that, like, worked a lot in the Midwest, New York, and just had like a different sort of sensibility to them than like West Coast directors. But not saying that one is better than the other. Difference is, whatever. But like, there's just like sort of a familial vocabulary that, like, shorthand you could work with. But yeah, that was fun. And and this funny thing is my first time, the first time you see that character, I got this mustache, right? And I was like, so I was shooting an episode of that, and then I immediately had to go up to Toronto to play a fireman, and I had it in my mind that firemen had mustaches, right? And so I got up there, and none of the firemen that were like our sort of safety people had mustache. I felt like such a doofus, you know what I mean? So I shaved it off, and then I came back, and the character's mustache was gone. Little did I know that would be some foreshadowing of Bortus and a mustache. But yeah, that was funny. I don't know.
I think they need to bring that back. I like Bortus with a mustache.
I think it makes them very distinguished. You know what I mean? Like it's super strange because they're hairless people. But yeah, I that was big fun to have that. I mean, and just no one it was just so great behind the scenes too, just to like walk around and just walk up behind somebody and them not knowing I'm there, just tap them on the shoulder, and you know. And then my makeup artist bought me this T-shirt that said "Mustache Rides" on it. Like it was just like it was just full on, you know, shenanigans all the time with that mustache. I think that we had to get rid of it because it was too distracting, you know. For you know, it was just too much, you know. But like I like that you know. And there's some stuff coming up that you know you thought seeing Bortus in a 10-gallon hat. It's more like a 50-gallon hat. You know, like this big, but there's some stuff that it just makes, you just can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Like I think it might be, yeah, the next episode or the episode after that, some stuff coming that like, I can't wait to see. You know, I can't wait to like become a GIF. You know what I mean? Because I know it's gonna happen.
You know, it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, I already have like, I think I don't even know how many out there. But that's just such great fun. I love what fans do. Yeah. You know, like
it's creative.
Yeah, you know, it's I love that it's in their hands and they get to do.
Yeah,
it's something
pretty great. It's pretty great.
Someone sent me this thing of Bortus. There's like 4 pictures of Bortus. One was like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Grindr. You know, and it was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I love how much fun they have with me, or him, I should say.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Is there action figures out there of Bortus yet?
I heard talk about it. I mean, I know that there's a whole slew of comic books.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want an action figure. You know
yeah, you need an action figure.
An action figure. Like, you know, I think so. Like at least the collectible, you know, like, so I know that there's like an Orville model that's available. And I think they're gonna, you know, come out with a bigger and better one. Like
I mean, you think at least the pop figures, you know, with the kind of the big heads.
Head, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, we gotta write Fox and be like, or Hulu now, but Fox is Hulu. So, and they're like, what the hell? What's up with the merch?
You know? Yeah, where's the merch?
Where's the merch?
I got to interview Sam Jones that plays Flash Gordon, or played Flash Gordon, and he did the whole interview like standing in his living room, which was hilarious. But he had all these boxes, just dozens of boxes all around him. And I was like, Sam, are you moving? What's going on? And he's like, no, these are my action figures.
My action figures. Yeah. Yeah. The stuff that I would love to give away at conventions, or, you know, like certainly profit from. But yeah, I'm surprised. And who knows, you know, I mean, I think that, I think that the success of this season will be telling. I love what we're doing. And it's not because I'm in it, but I just think that, like, just knowing it from its opus, that these are really good. And I'm like, you know, I was just texting with Seth yesterday, and I was like, you know, we really should do a movie. You know, we really should do like
totally do a movie.
Full-on movie where it's R-rated, and you know, like we can
just let it fly.
And let it fly. You know what I mean? And it is not lost on him. And it's just so interesting watching him in the center of the whole Orville storm, being a, you know, creative executive creator, or executive producer, and like the show creator, directing it, starring in it, like, you know, everything in it, and just, you know, just being in the middle of it all. So, you know, like a lot of my, you know, ideas that, you know, I present to him and say, well, what about this? And it happened. You know what I mean? Like down the road, it'd fall in. So not all of it, because I had some pretty crazy ideas, but he's like, I don't think we can get away with that. I don't think we can do that.
Well, that's great though that he'll listen, at least listen to
absolutely.
the idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, like I tell my son all the time, because he thinks he knows everything, but like very smart. Like, I mean, like for a 6-year-old to know like all of the flags of the world, I'm like,
that's pretty good.
I you know, kudos, hats off, but you don't know everything. And I'm like, smart people always ask questions and always listen to, you know, like, and so I'm teaching him, you know, because I'm like, don't get ahead of yourself too much. Like, don't get too much of a big head. But for someone as brilliant and prolific as Seth is, I mean, he's an illustrator. He can play piano. He's a great singer. He puts out
he's a really talented singer.
You know, writer and director and everything. So he's available. You know, you just got to understand. Like, you know, it took a minute to sort of be like, how do you really act around famous people? How do you behave? Like, how do you? Because they're like, you know, his phone's always ringing, and like, you know, there's people coming up and asking questions, and he has like 8 assistants, you know, so you got to find like, you know, the time, you know, and he's really good at when you pick your spot, you know, kind of like, well, now's a good time, or now's not necessarily a good time to, you know, and what it is that you have to talk to him about or have a question about. He'll you know, the response is pretty immediate, you know, given the fact that he's got a million things going on. So that was, you know, really great working for a boss, if you will, like that, you know what I mean, who is super respectful and hard work, you know, hard work. And it was great to have him be a cast member, because, you know, sometimes you get in the weeds and you can't get the dialogue out. I think there's some great blooper reels coming.
We love blooper reels. That's awesome.
Because I know there's one for season 1, and I think they're going to combine, like do a season 2 and 3 one. But yeah, I mean, just to be working with him, and he's just one of us, and sometimes he's flubbing his lines left and right, and he just can't get it right. And then other times, you know, like, too much to his, you know, credit, if something doesn't sound right, you know what I mean? Like, take that again. And for himself too, where he'd be like, wait, one more time. And I remember one time I got stuck so bad that I thought, oh no, this is the end of my career. This is how it happens. I had to leave set. I had to walk around. I had to do a loop around the whole, you know, stage, which is like 4 football fields, you know what I mean? Like, and just like, you know, just get it together and come back, because it's like, you know, everybody's like waiting for you to get your shit together. And like,
no pressure.
And like, the more you mess up, the harder it is. And it would happen to all of us. It's like, sometimes you can't get the language out. Sometimes the gremlins are just there, you know what I mean? And it was great that, you know, it would happen to all of us. And then of course, like, you know, John Cassar, you know, who directed like most of the episodes in New Horizons, you know, we'd start getting squirrely, you know what I mean? And just like, in 13 hours in, and he's having to crack the whip to keep us, and, you know, keep it moving. Otherwise we're gonna be here forever. But yeah, so it's a great group of folks, you know. It's just a great group of folks to work with all around, from like the PAs all the way up the chain, you know what I mean? And I guess that's rare. I don't know.
Well, you can kind of like, you can tell there's a lot of rapport with the cast, which is pretty awesome, because if there's not rapport as fans, you can tell that too.
Oh yeah, man, like our panel discussions are notoriously blue. You know what I mean? Like they're just notorious. Like we're like a bunch of hairless cats, you know, like you can't like I mean, it's just, we just start, you know what I mean? It's like this whole thing. And like the poor moderators are just like, we can't get an word in edgewise. Like they're just, and that's the kind of rapport. Like when we go out to dinner, it's a whole thing, you know, like it's a whole, you know, like we have a good time with each other. So and that's very helpful, because when you're stuck with people for 15, 16
Yeah.
hours a day,
It helps to get along.
It helps a great deal to get along, and not just get along, but really be fans of each other. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of.
Do you have a group text?
Yeah, sometimes I have to turn it off because I'm just like, gosh, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk about this, or I'm putting my kid to bed, or like I'm at dinner, I'm trying to talk to my wife, and it's just like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I'm just okay, enough is enough. Oh, sorry, you still there? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you were answering about the text or
right.
or if I froze up for a second.
Yeah, no, it's that. Yeah, no, that's that they become annoying sometimes. Like
Yeah.
We have a good time. I mean, it's not, like we've had some amazing, a couple times we flew on his jet to New York a few times, and down to San Diego a few times, and it's just the shenanigans on these private jets, man. Like it's just like we went up to San Francisco actually the last great New Year's like 2019 to 2020, and 2020, and we was like, oh yay, like like on the way to the airport, like on the way on the tarmac, and walking to the plane and videoing and singing out great New Year's, hey, happy New Year's. And a few days later, the world shit the bed. So it's like, like
gosh, I know.
Just went.
So it was so weird. I mean, none of us had ever been through anything like that.
No, and God, yeah, it was just really strange. But yeah, I mean, he was singing with the San Francisco Orchestra.
Yeah.
And this is the generosity of this guy. So he's got, he's singing with, it's probably like 80 instruments that he's singing, the orchestra he's singing. So a lot of them were local San Franciscans, and then a lot of the musicians flew up from LA. So that's one plane full of musicians. Then 2 planes full of cast members and friends and their spouses, and in his own plane that he went by himself. But so his generosity knows no bounds. I mean, he just and rooms at the Four Seasons for everyone. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
he's not skimping.
And he doesn't skimp. He doesn't skimp on kind of anything he does, like with the writing, because he has a very, his work ethic is off the chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very hard worker, and has been for 20 plus years. So
yeah, it's hard to believe he's been at it for as long as he has, but it's been a while.
It's been a long while. So I mean, and he still comes up with it, like this whole new Ted business, like the prequel to the Ted movies. And there's like a CGI, the bear, he's voicing Ted, but the bear is you see that kind of technology in movies. You don't see that on a TV show.
No, you do not.
So now it's like you're gonna have the bear. This guy's like brain is limitless.
Well, and you got to do a couple of Family Guys.
Yeah. Like I play Peter's boss now. I'm like Peter Griffin's boss, and like that's a lot of fun. Griffin, and then Seth just came up to me. He's like, "Hey, man," because I think Carrie Fisher was like the last boss he had.
Yeah.
She passed away, rest in peace. And so Peter was bossless, and he just asked me, he's like, "Would you be interested in playing Peter's boss?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" Like, let's do it. So I've recorded, I think, 4 episodes, and these things take a long time. They take like 18 months or something like that to render. Yeah, to render, and then to score, because like they have the orchestra score all the episodes. So I think 2 of them have aired, and I've recorded 4 so far, and there's a bunch more down the pipe to record, but and that's just fun stuff. I mean, this bringing being part of the Fuzzy Door Camp, And then that's something in this, my 4-year-old, he's like, I want to watch Family Guy, Family Guy, Family Guy. And that's great because he doesn't really understand like
Well,
the
yeah, he's young enough. He could watch it and it wouldn't be a big deal.
and not be like, huh? But like, you know, the 6-year-old, it's still kind of off his radar. And I think it's better that way than he doesn't pick up on it and run with it. And I'm just going to have a mess on my hands. Like, yeah, like it's really a trip. Like we'll be scrolling the TV and like he's like, Family, come in. I want to watch Family Guy. And just the ones that I'm in. You know, like,
well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like,
yeah, that's pretty great. So the last one I wanted to mention, and it just from a show standpoint, we've been lucky enough to have a bunch of the cast from Bosch on, and you get to play the Reverend on Bosch. So I at least wanted to bring that one up.
That didn't go further. I was looking forward.
Me too.
You know, yeah. Somebody just wrote me the other day. Oh, I'm just watching you on Bosch. And that's another one I haven't seen because it was like I didn't have.
Oh, you should watch those. Those are good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get around to it. Like, I mean, but yeah, and I just remember like the sermon I got to give, and it was great because it was like in this real church in LA.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the real congregation of the church was there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going to hell. You know what I mean? It's like this is, you know, but like they loved it, and it's like, and it really got to get in touch again with. It felt like being on stage.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the last play that I did was Othello at in Ireland at the National Theatre of Ireland.
Oh, nice.
That's a line that was 2016, the year my son was born. And I haven't been on stage since, and I really, really miss it. But like that Bosch, you know, episode, and just working with oh God, what's his name? It'll come to me, but like Lance Reddick, who played the commissioner on the show, and like he's a Yaley, and you know, like we just swap stories, and it's great. And he you know, just watching his work from way back to like just being like a fan of his, and it was like the dueling baritones, you know, like yes, and I think so too, and don't you think so too? And you know, it was pretty great. You know, to work with him. But yeah, the show was good, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty. Yeah. So I was hoping the Reverend was gonna have like some Dirty Bird turn. You know what I mean? I'm always interested in, you know, the undoing of like the pageantry. But he was kind of a little breezy. You know what I mean?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of shine, you know. Like, so that's why I was hoping, because he wasn't so cut and dry, but that's, you know, that's this thing, man. I mean, this business is it can be crazy making, unless, you know, you get into the zen of it. And it, you know, I just got this really, really amazing big job yesterday that I'll be able to talk about soon. But like it's like I moved. You know, we moved to, after we finished shooting the Orville.
Yeah.
You know, LA just wasn't the place for us anymore. You know, like, I mean, it's one thing to be a series regular on a TV show shooting, which we were spoiled. We were shooting in LA, you know, 4 days a week for the most part, you know, like, and then during COVID, we were getting tested 5 days a week, some days 6 days a week, to keep the whole machine running. And you know, it took me at night, it took me 15 minutes to get home, and you know, in traffic it'd be like an hour and a half sometimes, but nonetheless I could go home to my family every day. And once that was done, I just like, we should go somewhere else, you know. And so because everything was so remote, everything's remote anyway, you know, like the casting offices are basically don't exist anymore. Like this is like all virtual.
I know, and I don't think they're coming back, not like they used to be.
No one seems to think that. So because it's not really necessary, I guess. You know, I guess. I mean, it's hard to, you know, I mean, so I'm for a year, like I shot one movie that's going to come out sometime soon, independent film, I think through Amazon. but other than that, for a year, I was just auditioning and just sending
Yeah.
tapes, sending tapes, and sending tapes out into the ether. You know what I mean? And like never like, and I was like, let me know you got this.
Yeah, because it's tough because you don't get any
So
feedback on it.
no, and that's it's rough on. I feel like it's rough on actors, right? I feel like it's rough on me, but I've
Yeah.
I can't be just like I've learned how to manage my expectations, which is basically to just forget about it. You know what I mean? Like you do it and it's
You
like
have to.
just let it go. But then it comes back around. So I'm saying, I mean, and I don't know. There's so many moving parts to all of this business that you got to really love it. You got to really, and I really love character creation.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore like what I get to do. Like I get to walk in other people's skin. You know what I mean? And like in aliens' skin, in serial killers' skin, in slimy preacher skins, in like drug dealers and fathers and all these things. And like I guess that my human experience, is I really am. I feel like I'm getting sort of a front row seat with the zeitgeist of what it means to be a human being. You know what I mean? Because it's my job
Yeah.
to not judge these characters. Like I mean, I was working on this serial killer, and it was just so strange. And like I showed my wife, and she's like, and she watches these crazy murder shows all the time. I can't stand that stuff. Like this investigative discovery, and like I cannot she'll fall asleep with that on. I'm like, you gotta turn that off.
Yeah. No.
That's making my dreams weird. I can't. But she's like, she's a psych nurse.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so she's all interested in like the broken brain and like the lack of the no empathy gene.
Yeah.
Serial killer stuff. But like me, I'm taking all this stuff on, and I take it on, and then I put it over there, and then I go and hang out with my kids and just like get rid. But like my job is to absorb all of that, and not think of myself as bad, or to figure out the psyche of someone who,
because you got to get into the character without letting the character get into you too much.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to Heath Ledger, man. I mean, arguably like the best Batman. I mean, the best Joker that's you never.
Yeah.
So it is a thing where you gotta let it go. But like when you love something so much, and you don't get to do it, it's a battle, right? I mean, you really have to keep your sort of wits about you and understand that part of this thing as being like a creative, or being like a practitioner of the drama or comedy or whatever, is that a huge part of it is downtime. And just like when you're on set, a huge part of the day is downtime. Like actors are working less than they're working. You know what I mean? So building, your quickly, and you got to be able to, ask the questions and dissect and all these things, even when you're not doing it. So it's the craziest. I wouldn't I wouldn't wish this on anybody unless you absolutely loved it, which I absolutely do. So
I love your viewpoint on it. I've never really heard it described that way, but I love that. That's a really cool way to look at it, because you're actually getting, I don't know, it's you get to observe all these different professions and people and types of people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and take that all on. I mean, it's one of the coolest jobs I think that we can do. That exists. I mean, I have a lot of respect for, creatives and musicians, and especially musicians. Because it's like so much, it's so universally connectable, like making music. But I have the utmost respect for like writers, and storytelling and like being a great actor is not, it's not a small feat, because I really look at it from the standpoint of like, you get to, again, inhabit, you get to learn the most of I get to learn more about people this way, you know what I mean? And it just sort of makes me, vastly neutral about a lot of things. And then also very, very angry and upset about things, on a macrocosmic scale that, I can't directly control, but what I can control is how I interpret the human experience, and or just like in this case, the not so human experience, but like sort of the universal themes of living, and make people feel something, or not like trying to make them feel anything, but help people, like just a conduit, to like a feeling, and all of that. Like, I'm looking at all of your background people, and I'm like, yeah, all of these guys, Al Pacino, like,
See, I need a Bortis, because they're supposed to all be yelling Khan.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I need a Bortis yelling Khan. I just got to catch you with your mouth open, and it would be very dry.
Like Mr. Derulio, when like Rob Lowe played with us, I'm like, this guy, but it still comes out as just like, you know what I mean? That's the joy of Bortis.
Bortis is the best.
Yeah, he's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy. Well, Peter, thank you so much for the time. This has been so much fun. You got to come back.
I'd love to, especially after everything is aired, and then we can talk about, because we
can get into the details then without spoiling it.
The nitty gritty without me getting sued. You know what I mean? So, because I think that would be a great bookend to this conversation.
Agree.
So I anytime, have me back when I think we have 5. I said 5, 4 or 5 more left. It's not 4. So after all is said and done,
not enough.
I know, but man, even without COVID, it was still going to take us this long to.
Well, nobody does. The days of 20 some episode seasons is long gone.
It seems to be.
And it should be, because then you avoid the filler episodes.
Yeah. And we don't. There's a pretty fat-free.
Oh yeah.
So I'm more than happy to come back and chop it up with you.
I'd love that. That'd be awesome.
What I know and what you don't know and what you will know.
I know. As a fan, I want to know everything, but also be surprised.
Yeah. I would never like unless I knew I had like a big episode where I had a lot of lines and a lot of work to do. I would never read ahead. You know what I mean? I would always wait until we started shooting that episode. Then I'd read it and find out what happens, and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. So I'm a fan too. So like, and I literally wait, till Thursday to like, which I'm glad they didn't put them all out at once, but to go back and.
No, I like the weekly.
Yeah, me too. It's old school.
That's it. I used to love that, because you get a whole week to get excited about it.
Yeah, and that delayed gratification, you know what I mean? Because I'll binge, like I'll look up and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, you're a jackass. Your kids are going to be up in 2 hours, like, and your wife is going to be really mad at you if you sleep in. So you made your choice. Enjoy.
Yeah. Now you got to live with it. So a couple of things, Peter, before you go. You mentioned the one thing you've been working on that you can't talk about yet, but anything else that you're doing or have done that we can keep an eye out for?
So there's a movie coming out called Shelter in Solitude.
Okay.
So look out for that, and look out for, there should be an announcement in the papers, in the rags, I would imagine, in the next week or two about what I'm talking about. And I'm so excited about this. So, and we'll get to talk about that.
Are you joining the Marvel universe?
I cannot say what, but it's a big thing. It's a big
Well, that's exciting.
Very, very,
it's exciting. Very well, exciting. So I'm assuming too, once it's out, that you'll put some stuff out there on social media. So where can we find you on social media?
Just Instagram. That's it. Like that's the
nice one.
That's the only one I really have time to deal with. I have like a Facebook page that I don't even run. You know, like my nephew runs it. I'm like, I just don't have the like. So everything that I post on Instagram goes over to this other Facebook account that I don't even have a password for, or I had it, I lost it. I don't even have access to it. I accidentally posted something before I was supposed to with the Orville, like some of the posters, and like the Hulu immediately they were calling.
They were not happy.
My manager was like, "You gotta take that down." Like I guess I get flagged, whatever. And I couldn't. It took me like my wife had to help me, hack into my Facebook account to take it down. So but just Instagram. It's just my name at the blue check. I have 2 accounts. I don't know why, but it's Peter J. Macon, on Instagram, and like that's where you'll find all the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Stuff, you know what I mean?
The good stuff.
The posts that I'm up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep. Some of them are political. I mean, it's just kind of hard not to these days, but but I tend to just kind of stay in like the artsy lane, you know what I mean? But like sometimes I feel like I should say something about this.
That's right.
That I have. So, but for the most part, it's just that. So yeah, like, and when we talk again, like we'll really be able to chop up everything. And then I probably will have limited information about what I can say about that, but at least we'll know what it is. And,
that's right. At least we can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Well, now if it's nerdy or comic book related, I'm going to have some things to say about it.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you have an opinion.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. And I can't wait. We'll do it again.
Okay, Michael. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hold on one second. How much fun was that, Peter Macon? I'm such a fan of his. I've been watching him for years, and there's so many shows that we didn't get to talk about. He had a role on Dexter. He was played a Master Chief on SEAL Team. Just a lot of really fun shows. Supernatural, he was on as well. So lots to talk about, and it's so exciting that he wants to come back. I can't wait. We'll do a part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought a lot of good insight of the behind the scenes stuff with the Orville. Just really, really good stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Really, really appreciate that. If you could help us with our YouTube channel, Meisterkhan Pod, and subscribe. If you like this interview, please consider that. It would really be a huge help to us. We're trying to grow this thing from the ground up. And I wish that, we weren't dependent on, adding to our subscription base, but we need that. It helps legitimize us. It helps us to keep bringing really terrific guests to you. So if you could do that, if you can subscribe, really help us out. You can watch all 418 and counting episodes. I can't believe it. On our website, Meisterkhan.com. Audio and video, they're all on there. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, I'm sure Peter will be doing some conventions. If we're doing any of that, it'll be on the website, Meisterkhan.com. So thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye, everybody.